Cool, so this is the pattern. Go ahead and cut out your correct size. So when you measure what size you are, each line corresponds to a different size. So figure out which line you need to follow. It goes extra small to 3XL. And then you just cut out the size you need. I have gone ahead and just traced mine onto another piece of paper just so I can reuse this pattern. Cool, so when you are ready to cut out, you're going to grab your fabric and fold it in half so the selvage edges are together. So remember, the selvage edges are the frilly bits, or we've got like little pinholes. That's how you know that they're your selvage edge. So fold the fabric in half and just ensure that those two edges are together, and then you've got the fold line here. Lay it all nice and flat so you're happy with that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lay up our pattern pieces. So grab your pattern pieces. So I have traced off my pattern pieces from my main pattern, just so I can reuse that pattern again. So I've just traced them onto little card paper, and I've taken the extra 5 centimeters hem length off just because I'm quite short, so I didn't need that on. So you're just going to lay it up and make sure your grain lines, so your grain lines are there, make sure that runs parallel to your selvage edge. So ensure that that is parallel to that when you're laying up your pieces. So I'll go ahead and lay out my pieces and you can follow along. So just sort of where they fit on the piece. And also something to keep in mind, that if you have something that has a print on it, some fabric that has, say, some birds on it, and they're all going one way, then make sure when you're cutting out that the top of your shorts aren't upside down, so the birds aren't upside down. That means it's a one-way print if they're all going the one way on the fabric. But if you've got no print, like how I've just got a gingham, then you're fine to place it however you like, as long as the lines are going parallel to your selvage edge. Cool, and you're going to want to make sure your waistband is on the fold. So just remember that the fold is there, not the selvage edge, not these two loose edges, on the folded edge, because when we're going to put that down and cut it out, when you unwind it, it's going to be one really long piece, double the length, which is what we want. So go ahead and pin your pieces in place. See you soon. Make sure you're happy that all the grain lines running parallel. Make sure your waistband's on the fold. Cool, so I'm happy with how I've pinned them. Each piece says, so shorts, that's the front of the shorts, cut one pair. So by folding it in half, you're cutting one pair, right? Shorts back, cut one pair, same thing. So we've got two singles, or cut one pair. And then that one on the fold, so we're going to have one long piece. Cool, let's get cutting. Cool, so you can go ahead and take your pins out, take your pattern pieces off. So with the back piece, I did forget to mention, so you've got little notches in the back, right, in the curve. So you're just going to put 2 little marks on your fabric. So you're just going to go 1, 2, and that just helps us when we're cutting out know which one the back is. So I should show you. So just 2 little slits like that, just to kind of show that that's the back in both pieces in the back curve. Cool. So you can put your pattern pieces aside and put your fabric in a neat little pile next to your sewing machine, because now we are ready to start sewing. Yay! Great, so you're going to want to thread up your machine in the matching thread you got. So I'm just going to use white on my one because it'll be quite a good match. You thread up your one in whatever colour you decided to go with today. Cool, so these are your fronts and your backs. So what we're going to do is we're going to, remember these are right sides together. So we're going to open out your backs. So just move your fronts to the side for now. We're going to open out your backs. So you got this. And have the right sides facing up. And then you're going to grab one of your fronts and you're going to lay it on top of your back to make sure your side seams, these are your side seams, are laying on top of each other. So we're going to do that for both sides. And so what you'll notice is I don't match there, but that's fine. Because the back one, you need enough room for your bottom. So put your side seams together and we're going to pin down there. So what we're doing is we're pinning our front and our backs together at the side seams. So make sure they're even all the way along, so they're matching at the bottom. Right, so you've got your side seams matching, all pinned down, and you've got a front on a back, and your two right sides are together, facing each other, on top of each other. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So side seam to side seam. We're going to pin down there. So what we're going to do now, the sides you've just pinned, we are going to go through and we're going to sew them. So centimetre seams down there and down there. And ensure you back tack at the start and at the end of the seam and pull your pins out as you go. And I'm going to do a 1 centimetre seam. So make sure you figure out on your machine from the needle edge out what is 1 centimetre. And that's how far you're going to sew along. Here we go. And then back tack. And you're away. And there we go, there's your first sewn seam of your shorts. So do the same thing to the other side. Cool, so you're going to grab your other side of the side seam, so the edge that you've pinned, not the curved edge yet, just the pinned edge. So now you're going to sew along that one as well, just as you did before. So now you have got that sewn seam on that side, and then on this one you've also got that sewn seam, so your curved edges are loose on each one. Right, so what you do now is you grab, so you lay your pieces out. I'll lay them like this, it's easier to see. So you've got your two seams sewn there, and then you've got your two fronts and your backs, and you can tell that your backs are the bigger ones. They come out further than your fronts, and they have the notches in the seam, the little splits we did earlier, so you match them up. So what we're going to do is we're going to we'll start with our backs. So grab your two, move your fronts out of the way and make sure your seam is hiding on the inside. So see, there's my raw edge. So if you lay them like this, it's easier. So your raw edge is under there. So then move your fronts out of the way, grab your two backs, and from the top you're going to pin all the way along. So pin that whole edge together. Just like so. So you've got your two backs together and your notches are together, the little splits we did earlier. And now you're going to sew along there 1 centimetre seam and back tack at the start and at the end. At the end. Move the pins out of the way as you go so you don't break anything. Take your time when you go around the curve. Slowly maneuver it around just so you get that nice even sewing all the way down. And back tack at the end. Pull your work out and you've sewn your bum seam on your back. Great, so if you lay your fabric back out how it was before, so these are my two fronts, these are my backs, that's the seam we've just sewn, and these are our side seams. So if you lay them out like that, it'll be not so confusing. So grab your two fronts now, and we're just going to do exactly the same thing that we've done before on the back one. So that's the middle back, that's your bum seam, your centre back. Now we're going to do the centre front seams. So we're going to grab these two curved edges. We're going to pin them together as we did. And so pin all the way along there, and that's your front edge. We're going to sew that edge. So you lay your pieces back out again. So these are the side seams. So make sure when you lay it out, your side seams are on the edge, and then make sure that's your front center that we've just sewn. And then if you flip it over, that's your back center seam that we sewed before. So lay it back out, have your front out, seams should all be visible, all on the same side. If you've got a seam that's facing the wrong way, you'll have to unpick it and sew it again. You want to make sure all your seams are all on the same edge when they're all laying out. So this is your front, this is your side seam. Now what we want to do is we're going to go and finish all the seams. So we're going to either overlock your side seams and your front edge and your back edge that we've sewn. We're going to either go through and overlock all of those edges. If you don't have an overlocker, just use a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, and just so it finishes the edge so it's not all raw, and that'll prevent it from fraying and give it a bit of extra stability. So what we want to do again is side seams, 1-2 side seams, your front seam, your front seam and your back seam. So all the seams we've just sewn, we want to go through and finish them off. So I've now done both side seams, and I'm going to do the centre front and the centre back seams. Just be careful when you go around the curve, take your time. Great, cut all your loose threads. Cool, so we've got all of our overlocked nice edges, or you've zigzagged, either or. So now we're going to make sure the side seams are at the sides. This is my back because it's the longer edge. What we're going to do now is open up the short edges. So you go down there, and we want these little bits on both sides. So this is your back. So I'm going to grab those pieces, that little bit there. And then you're going to grab the same bit on the front, so which is this little bit. So you're not going to do anything with the leg openings. That's going to be the hem later on. But just these little, there's a sewn edge. Just these little bits. And then you're going to grab your front and your backs. And then you're going to put them on top of each other. And then you're going to pin it together. Just the edges. And make sure your seams, your centre seams are on top of each other. You can always push one seam one way and one the other way, just so it doesn't have, so it's not so bulky. Cool, once you've pinned them all together, you're going to sew along that edge. Just that little short edge, and that's your centre seams on either side. Cool, so as you can see, I've gone ahead and sewn that edge there. So now when you open them up, you've got your side seams that way on the sides, and then you've sewn that little edge there. Okay, so what you've just done is connected your front and your backs at the legs. So now you're going to go ahead and overlock or zigzag stitch that, just finish it off to make it not unravel. Great, so I've just gone ahead and overlocked that edge, so that's all your raw edges should all be overlocked or zigzagged. Just they should be finished in some way. So now they're starting to look like some shorts, yay. Those are your side seams. If you turn them inside out, that's what that seam should look like that you've just sewn. That was that little edge there. So just make sure your fronts, the seams are all nice and tidy. So we've got almost a pair of finished shorts. You're nearly there. Now what we're going to do is attach the waistband, and then we're going to hem them, and then we're done. You're going to grab your one long piece, your waistband, and with right sides together, so this fabric doesn't have right sides and wrong sides, so you're going to put the right sides together facing each other, and then just fold it in half lengthways like so, and then you're just going to sew those two edges together, 1 centimeter seam along that edge, just those two sharps. So you've got two seams here, and then that's your folded edge. So we'll leave the folded edge, just sew the two seams together. Great, and now you're either going to zigzag that edge, the raw edge, or overlock it. Cool, so I've gone ahead and overlocked that edge, as you can see. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fold it with the seams inside. So fold it in half this way. So see the seam is on the seam. Fold it in half. So it's half the width that it was. Like so. We're going to pin that to our shorts. So we're starting with the waistband. We're going to put the seam at the side seam of the waistband. Great, so you've got your waistband all folded in half. You can go ahead and give it an iron just to make it extra, easy to deal with and easy to sew. So you just go and iron that all flat, so it makes sure it's all in half. And then what you're going to want to do is just pin it to your shorts and just make sure it's all in half. So your side seams are in half. So these are your two raw edges. So fold it over, and then we're just going to want to pin it to your shorts. So you grab your shorts and get your side seam, so not your front or your back, just your side seam. And then we're going to put this seam going down like that onto your side seam. So that's your waistband, put it onto your side seam. Make sure all your short seams are inside out, so make sure your shorts are the right way around, should I say. And then you're just going to want to pin this waistband all the way around. So I find it easier just to sort of pin the side that you want the seam to be on the seam on top of each other, and then just sort of hold it like that, and then go to your other side seam. Make sure you've got 2 layers for your waistband and then your shorts layer, and then just pin at that side seam, and then just sort of ease it around. I'll pin the center and then the other center, just to make sure it's all even. And then I'd probably put a few more pins in just to really hold it in place. But as I said, it could be easier if you've pressed that, just to make sure it doesn't bubble and move around. So either or, whatever you prefer. Cool, so that's what it should look like. So you've got your seam of your waistband on top of your side seams, and then you've pinned all the way around. And now we're going to leave a little gap, so when we get to putting the elastic through, we can thread it through. So I'm just going to, you can kind of leave it anywhere. I'm just going to change my pin direction. So I'm going to go from the side seam, where that little seam is, maybe to about here. Doesn't need to be a big gap. So maybe about that wide. And then, so I've changed my direction about, so they're going downwards. So I know when I'm sewing around not to sew that part. So just to leave a little opening so we can get the elastic through. So now I'm going to go through and sew all the way around and just make sure it's all even, and then you've always got 3 layers that you're sewing. 1, 2, 3 layers. Cool. Cool, so I'm going to put my shorts, and I'm going to start from here. So where that little gap that I told you to leave. So I'm going to start from this black pin, and I'm just going to sew all the way around the top edge of my shorts at a centimetre seam and go all the way around, and I'm going to stop when I get to the orange pin. So I'm leaving that little gap open. Great. So I've sewn my waistband on, as you can see. That's what it looks like. And then I've left a little gap, little opening there, just so I can put the elastic through. So you're going to grab your elastic that you've cut to your correct measurement. It says on the pattern how much elastic you need. You're going to get a little safety pin and pin it onto the edge, the end of your elastic. So it looks like that. And then you're going to grab that and go to your shorts, and where your little opening is, we're going to thread it through there. So that's where the little hole is, but thread it through your waistband. So we're going to put it in, and then you're just going to push your little pin all the way through. So my little pin's here, so you just push it all the way through, and then what that does is that's threading the elastic through. So you want to just push it through, and just be careful not to pull the elastic right through. Sometimes it can be easier to get the other end and pin it to the short so you don't pull it through, but I'm just going to be careful and not do it. But just so you just push it through. So all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing that pin that is on the inside of my elastic, and I'm just pushing the pin through, which is then pulling all the elastic through at the same time. But yeah, you just don't want to pull that edge all the way through. So if you find it easier, I'll just stabilize that and just put a little pin on the end of that and attach it to the garment, just so you don't pull it right the way through, because otherwise you have to start again. Out. See, there comes the little pin, the safety pin. Pull that out, and then I think maybe now I will attach these two together, just so we don't lose either edge now that we've both got them both through. So just put it like that on both edges, and then you're just going to want to evenly sort of push it around, and then handy because we don't lose both edges because they're pinned together. So sort of evenly push it around, and that's how you create your butt waistband. So now what you're going to do is you're just going to get your two edges, and then we're just going to sew those two together. Go through and just make sure none of your elastic is twisted. So kind of just pull it and make sure it's all flat, because it's very easy to twist the elastic and that won't be comfortable when you're wearing your shorts. So just make sure it's all flat, which it is, and then you're just going to pull these two little edges out, undo the pin, and then you're just going to overlap them a couple of centimeters, and then you're just going to sew those edges together. So those are your two edges. Make sure none of it's twisted all the way around, so just double check that, and then you're just going to put one on top of the other, and then you're just going to sew along that edge. And I'll probably do a few lines of stitching just to really make sure it's secure. and then just go over it a few times. You don't want that to come undone, because when you're wearing the shorts, that'll just completely make your shorts all loose if the elastic comes undone. So you want that to be nice and secure. Cool, so now you can let them go through, pull it all evenly, so kind of just give them a little tug, and that'll make the elastic go flat. Thread it round so it's all even, and they're starting to look like shorts. Yay. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go back and just sew up that hole that we've left open. Once the elastic's all in there, you're just going to go back and you're just going to start where you left off, and you're going to go sew all the way up, all 3 layers. Make sure it's all sewn up so it can't, so you don't have any holes. So now there's no holes anywhere, which is what you want, which is great. Cool. Now you're going to go through and you're either going to overlock that raw edge of the waistband that we've just, the seam we've just sewn, or zigzag stitch it. So you're just going to finish it in some way. So as I'm going around overlocking, just because you've got elastic in there, just make sure you pull it so it's nice and flat. And even if you are zigzagging on the machine, just pull the elastic so it's a flat, straight piece. So you don't really want to thread it through while it's all bunched. Just pull the elastic, make sure it's all nice and flat, and you got no tucks, and then just go through. And then pull it, make sure there's no tucks underneath. Pull the elastic. And then stop, and then pull it. It's all really flat. We'll go through and we'll trim up all of our loose threads as well. So you trim your threads as you go, makes it a bit easier. And now to prevent it from the elastic from rolling on the inside, we're just going to go through and just put 1 line of stitching on the elastic. We're going to go along the elastic and we're just going to stitch it down so it doesn't twist while it's in your waistband. So I'm just going to start at the side seam, and I'm going to put it into my machine, and we're going to put the foot in the middle of your waistband. Turn the machine on, and then you're just going to pull the elastic out as you sew. So that's it all normal and scrunched up. What we're going to do is we're going to pull that out and then just sew along in the middle. Back tack. And then you're just going to... You might find it easier to put a marking along there so you know where the middle is. You can either put pins in or some chalk lines just as a guide. I'm just going to do it by eye. So pull your elastic out so it's really stretched out as you go, and pull it from each side. And then as you get to the line where you started, you're just going to join up so they both meet. And then you're going to back tack at the end as well. So you overlap the stitch line and then you back tack and then pull it out. And that's it. Just tie out your little loose threads. Cool, and so that just creates, it looks quite quite nice as well. It makes it a bit more ruffly for you, but that's just going to stop the elastic from turning in the casing as well. So now we are going to hem the bottom of the legs with your zigzag stitch the edge of the fabric or overlock. So I'm going to go ahead and overlock that all the way around on both leg holes. So the hem of both leg holes. Cool. So I have gone along and overlocked the bottom edge of my shorts, as you can see, all the way along both legs at the bottom. And you can either overlock or, as I mentioned, just use a zigzag on your machine just to do it right on the edge, just to finish it, and so it doesn't fray. And now you're going to turn your shorts up and hem them. So I'm going to hem mine 1 centimetre over hem. So you're going to go around and measure 1 centimetre, and then I'll probably iron them once you've measured it, because it'll keep it nice and flat. So you go around, measure it, iron it, and then we're going to just sew it, and then your shorts are complete. Cool, so just go around, measure with your tape measure 1.5. That's the hem I'm going to do, but feel free to try your shorts on and just see what the length you want yours to be finished at. And it's much easier, yeah, just to go around, measure it, and iron as you go. Maybe put some pins in if you want it to stay down a bit easier. But do that on both legs, and then you've got a much easier guide, and it should be flatter for you to sew later. So I'm just going to go ahead and iron right now. So once you've ironed your hem allowance in place, that's mine. I'm just going to go around and sew the edge around both your hem legs. If you find it easier, as I mentioned, put some pins in to hold it all in place. And backtack at the start and at the end, as we have been. But yeah, as I say, if you try them on and you don't like the length on you, feel free to either make your turn up bigger than that. I just did 1.5 because that's what I was after. Or you can chop some more length off and then turn it up. It's personal preference at one. And then when you get close, you're going to meet up with your starting stitch. We're going to trim those little loose threads, but you should have a seamless sort of join line. And then we're going to go ahead and do the other side, just as you've done that side. Trim your loose threads. So go back through over all your shorts and just go and trim any threads that you've got around the place. Just tidy it up a bit. I've got some loose threads there. Little shake. And there we have it. We're going to give them an iron. So that's my hem, just an up close of the hem. So it's overlocked and turned over, and then it's stitched in a obviously straight line around the legs. So those are them, super cute, so happy with them. I'm going to go give them an iron, give them an all over iron. So I'm going to iron the waistband, make that all flat so it's not so puffy. See, it's quite puffy still. Yay, I'm so happy with my shorts. They're all done. I've given them a nice iron, and I just am really happy with them. You'll mention is, so you know which is the front and back, we're just going to put like some little markings. So to figure out which is your front and back, go to your center seam. So that's what your shorts look like, right? Go to the center front or the center back seam, the crotch seam, and then just kind of go along the overlocked edge and find the little slits. Remember the little notches we made at the start? Go through and find them. So there's my little cut marks. Is that, can you sort of see them? I don't know if that's showing you. Little cut marks. Yeah, I don't know why it's all blurry, sorry. But there's little cut marks from the notches. So that means that's my back. So unless you've got some little cute care tags or care labels or tags you've brought or made, you can put them there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because it's probably more than likely that you don't have little tags, which is fine. Oh, where's it gone? There it is. So I'm just going to put, I've just got this little trim, so I'm just going to grab that, I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm just going to sew it on the centre back seam, just so I know when I put them on that is my, just on the overlocking or your zigzag edge. So I'm just going to sew that there. I'll show you in a minute, in the centre. Put that in there. I might go that way actually, just so I know where the centre is. And make sure it's on the edge that we put the notches in. Because if you have them around the wrong way, your bottom, like where your bum is, that edge is way longer to fit your bum in than your front edge. So I'm just gonna, so you can put anything you want there, just to differentiate which one's your front, which is your back. And I think this is quite a cute way to do it. Any trims or even any contrast fabric, you could sew a little thing there. So see, I've just put it just there, just in the back seam, so that's my front. Just there, just a cute little, I'll just get rid of those trims, trim those threads, sorry. It's just sort of a cute little makeshift tag. But you can do whatever you want, just so you know that that's your back.